Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel, The Heart for Home. On today's episode, we'll be looking at yet another peril, which is the flood peril. Why not sit down, relax, and learn with me? Thank you. What is flood? From an insurance point of view, the general interpretation of a flood is a substantial buildup of water which enters the home at or below a ground level. The dictionary, however, simply defines flood as an overflow of a large amount of water beyond its normal limits. That is, and when a water has gone beyond and above its natural habitat or its natural confines, then you can consider this as flood. As far as flood is concerned, there are some few keywords I want us to look into. The first is the substantial buildup of water. This means that there must be a significant body of water in terms of its volume and its depth for you to say you've actually experienced a flood in your property. The second one to consider here is the external source. Unlike escape of water where you've got burst pipe or water leaking from any fixed tank within your property, as for flood, the water must originate from an outside and external source. In my previous video, with link in the caption below, I did an explanation of what is considered as flood, what is considered as storm, and what is considered as an escape of water or water leak. Kindly follow the link in the caption below to have a view of that. The third element I would like us to consider here is the sudden element. And this is one of the factors that actually distinguish if a house has been affected by a damp or a flood. For flood, there must be a sudden buildup of water which is not ordinarily intended to be. However, as for damp, there must be, a gradual and a continuous saturation of water on the walls of the property. There might not be an actual flow of water into the property, but damp actually leaves the walls saturated and all soaked, causing the wallpapers, the skating board to flake and fall off. Basically, flood are always connected to weather events such as a heavy rainfall or a bad storm. However, there are some certain situations whereby the cause of flood might be from any other events. Below are 4 examples of what we can categorize as flood. Number 1 is a heavy downpour of rain that overwhelms the drains on the driveway, causing it to back up and then overflow into the home. That is, when we've got a torrential rain which has actually gone beyond the capacity of the drains, what happens is these drains will actually back up and then water will begin to flow into the property. Number 2 is an occasion whereby the river bursts its banks and then it washes its way into the property. And this is usually common among those living along the coastal line, whereby there's an outburst from the riverbank and then water begins to flow into people's property. Another example of flood is a heavy rain which is running down a hill and then going into people's homes below the hills. People that are actually in an uneven topography are those who experience this kind of flood. The water runs down from the hills and then it has no way but then to go through the people living below or under the hills. Our final example of flood today will be after a heavy storm, the road has become flooded and then water has flowed into people's homes. In this situation, the drainage system no longer have the capacity to contain this water as a result of the torrential rain, thereby causing it to go into people's home, especially through the basements or cellar. And don't forget, I mentioned initially that for flood, it must be water that comes into the property at or below a ground level. And as you and I know, our basements or our cellar are usually below the ground level of our building. This makes the basements vulnerable to flooding anytime we've got a bad or a heavy storm. And below are 2 common general exclusions as far as the flood peril is concerned. Number 1 is loss or damage to our gates or fences. As this is a standard exclusion under storm, so also does it apply under flood. Gates and fences are not considered to be covered as a result of damage caused by storm and flood, simply because of the way they are being built, especially when you are in the Western world. The second General exclusion under flood is the cost of removing a tree or its branch unless it has fallen and caused damage to the building itself. So in a case whereby there's a bad storm which has actually led to flood, and this flood has actually broken a tree or its branch, the cost of removing this tree or the branch from your property or from the road is not considered under the terms of the policy. The only time this can be considered is when this fall has actually damaged the building itself. That is, as a result of the flood, the tree or its branch has actually impacted on your property itself. Now we've come to the end of the flood peril. Thank you for learning with me. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, comment on our X and our YouTube channel at Your Risk Advisor 1. Also, kindly follow and like our page on Facebook at The Heart for Home. Till I come your way again next week. Bye bye.